The New Orleans Pelicans fall to the Minnesota Timberwolves 102-111. I'm Cheddar Chaz, that's Chris, and that's Ross. Let's talk about it.
First took away. That's what this extra money's worth.
Yo, the Pelicans had another lost in the grueling game. Tough way to lose it, but happens, man. We're here to talk about it, guys. Chris, saw the team battle back at the end. They lost the lead, managed to get the lead back. What do you take away from these last this last game in particular? We already spoke about the Denver game. What do you take away from this game in particular?
Yeah, man. I think you're watching a team do that's in their heads as a collective right now, pressing, overcompensating as a group, trying to just get another win, and which we know will happen right now. But here's what happens. When you're struggling right now and you're playing bad basketball, there are things that come with it. Bad quarters, turnover riddled quarters, just silly things that you shouldn't do, putting yourself in holes that you got to fight back through towards the end of the game. It's just not sustainable. And, the frustration kind of boils over. We see Willie Green get thrown out of a game. He didn't curse, and we can't curse. So I can't say what he should have said, but it's a lot of things right now on a team that has kind of lost their way and their swagger, broken elements. And, I don't know how you fix it without a break or big time reinforcements that return, whether it be from injury or from on an opposite or an opposing team.
Ross, Brandon Ingram, of course, made his return tonight. Went 4 for 18 from the field, 0 for 5 from behind the arc. Scored six critical points in the last 2 minutes. 13, 5 and 5 in 26 minutes. How did you view his performance tonight? Was it the return you had hoped for? As far as did he look mobile? Did he look refreshed in your mind?
No, it was not. And look, we're all guilty of it. I'm especially guilty of it. You expect these dudes to come back and just be ready. I mean, he hadn't played in a competitive game in 2 months. Like we should see this coming. I mean, he was bad tonight. He looked sluggish. I thought he looked a little slow. Handle was sloppy. Some silly turnovers. He took a bunch of threes. Generally, when a guy's doing that, I mean, he just didn't. He didn't look good. It's not a. But I'm not gonna. I was still at least happy that he was out there. Hopefully, he just plays through some of that rust and gets his legs back under him and stuff. And that's like it's almost like another layer of frustration when these guys are out so long, because then it's like you want to be excited that they're back, and then you watch them play and it's like, man, I almost wish you could have gone to the G League or something, worked a week of kinks out or something, because I mean it's just not, he wasn't, and I'm not going to blame him necessarily for the performance today. I mean, it's just his first live action in 2 months. I mean, there's not really much else to say. I thought he played bad.
Okay. Man, of course the timeline was going a little crazy. Two guys, I really have to ask y'all to rate their performances. For one, I have to ask about Coach Green. We saw Coach Green, show a little emotion, and who knows, maybe that sparked the comeback from the team. But also in the third quarter, you saw Coach Green allow Minnesota to, tie up the game. He relinquished the lead, go up by close to double digits, and he didn't call a timeout until the game had already seemingly gotten out of hand. How would you guys rate Coach Green's performance prior to him being tossed from the game? Ross, you can go first.
Not good. We've seen these quarters here over the last few weeks where it's like you can just see it coming, and it feels like and maybe there's nothing you can do about it, right? I mean, yeah, we could call timeouts and you could make changes and all that good stuff, but this one especially, it just felt like kind of even going into halftime, the last 2 minutes going into halftime, and then you came out in like the first 2 minutes of the third quarter, maybe you had a leaky tire, and then another 2 minutes, you had two leaky ones, and then by 6 minutes in, like the wheels had come off. And it just felt like we didn't do anything to try to stop that bleeding when, like, it's coming. Like you taking you getting beat up, taking a bunch of body blows, man. Like you got to call some timeouts. I mean, even if you call 2 or 3 in a row, who cares? Like, I get so frustrated with the saving the timeouts and saving the challenges and everything. Like, bro, use them. Like, you got beat 39-20 in the third quarter or whatever it was. Like, that was the game. That's it. Like, we're not in a spot right now. Brandon is not in a spot right now to bring you back. Like, it's not. Yes, the team does a good job of fighting back. Like, they've got a bunch of competitors on the team, and that's great. And it's hopefully at some point when we're healthy, that stuff matters again. But we've got to be more concerned with, like, we got to keep games closer than we're keeping them.
Yeah, every game can't be an uphill battle. And if the ref don't make this call, maybe we could have pulled it off. And it's like, don't put yourself in that position every single night for the ref to have that much impact on the game. Chris, what are your thoughts on Coach Green's performance tonight?
Yeah, I mean, average C-. I think one of the downsides of being, someone that is a group guy, community being about family and togetherness. The downside of that is that sometimes you put too much trust and belief in your players to figure it out. And, Willie, unfortunately, being a former player, he's been in the locker rooms to know how sometimes these things go. Right. And it's good when you dig from those experiences in some of the spots where your players look each other's in the eye. But you also have to remember some of the negative moments that were successful when, as a coach is able to show you your mistakes and hold you accountable. I'm not here to say that I know every single thing that's going on in the locker room and those practices and how players and are being held accountable. But I mean, it's just a a part of life that sometimes, man, those timeouts, things are getting out of act. Yeah, you have veterans that have been in these situations enough to figure things out. But basketball, sports period, there are things, momentum's a real thing. So when you start missing shots that you're not supposed to miss, you're accustomed to making things stop falling your way, and next thing you know, 5 minutes have gone and you haven't scored. It's your job to manage and call a timeout at that point. Now, he got the getting thrown out thing right. He got that right. That was the perfect time to end up doing it, and the perfect part of what his season is kind of is currently or presently at. But it's those little things throughout games, and you saw Chris Finch do them when your team is up 15 and then they're down by 10. You call a timeout. Your team is up by 10 and it's 7 or 5.
Another time, yeah. Chris Finch was on top. He was,
helps out.
Yeah, and I actually think what as close as the game was at the end, I do think those timeouts did thwart a possible loss for Chris Finch. Another guy, man, we got to talk about this guy. He's been getting a lot of flack all season, but Herb Jones, man, Herb is struggling across the board right now. And of course, we didn't anticipate that coming into this season. At this point, do you guys think, Herb is an older, second year player, he's about 24. Do you think a lot of this just kind of is who Herb is, or you think right now he's going through some mental hurdles? Either one of you guys want to go first?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris, because I've got a long-winded response.
It's just a lot of it right now, man. And most of it is, while no player is perfect, when you ask that question, we're talking a lot about his offensive performance and his capability right now. And I look at it, and mainly in a jump shot, it looks mechanical, man. It's a problem in, like, if you line up his jumper from last year to right now, and how he was using his legs more last year. Today, I mean, right now it's all arms. It's different. It's not as up and down. It's way more stronger off the back iron on the opposite side of the rim. And you combine that with where his confidence is right now, of just not just hoping, trying to wish the ball in. That's not the guy that showed up to start last season, right? You got a dude that worked on his jumper, knew the only way he was going to really be able to play right away. Injuries happen, of course, but him to be able to be in the starting lineup and play as long as he was, he worked on his jumper. And you saw that kind of play into last year, mainly the beginning and a half, because it started to fall off and tailor back off towards the end.
Second half of the year.
We're back there again to where his jumper seems to just be broken. And mentally right now, the combination of that, maybe not having the time to fix it and make the correct adjustments, and just him not completely trusting and believing in it right now is just got you a recipe for disaster right now, his offensive game.
Ross, you think it's time to pivot?
Let me. Yes, a little bit, but I'm not giving up on him. I don't want to go away from the defense either, because let's just start here, right? I mean, field goal percentage down, 3-point percentage down. Offensive stuff is down across the board. Even if you look at some of the advanced stuff, he's been I could find some things that point to him being an average player. I think it's probably been a below average player this year by most metrics. And offensively, what he's doing to us is painful to watch, right? Because there was a lot of instances tonight where Kyle Anderson or Anthony Edwards just weren't even guarding him. I mean, just not guarding you. I mean, your guy is standing either at the elbow or between the block and the elbow, just cutting off driving lanes for other guys. I'm just not guarding you. Simple as that. You don't have to be a basketball aficionado to watch that game and say, "Phew." I mean, so he's clogging up
that guy number 5.
Else.
He's just out there.
He's just out there, and so whether it be a sophomore slump, whether it be some injuries that have contributed to it, I'm not certain. Defensively, you had those moments last year where he made it really tough on guys. This year, it's like, man, I could go through. I mean, he only played about 25, 30 games, whatever it is this year. I mean, I could go through half of those. Hell, I got half of them pulled up right now. Anthony Edwards hung a 37 bird on him tonight. A couple weeks ago, Luka. I mean, look, I get it. These guys kill everybody. Luka, 34. A couple games before that, Shea, 44. A couple games before that, Giannis, 40-something. I mean, this list goes on and on. A couple games before that, Devin Booker, 58.
These guys are the best of the best.
Okay, fair enough. Jordan Clarkson, 39. You want me to keep going?
No, that's
Gary Trent Jr., 35. I mean,
that guy's pretty good.
I mean, I got game after game after game after game here of, and look, you can't say, yes, I do. I get it. Those guys put up a lot of points, usually somewhat efficiently against most people. Herb is supposed to be a first-team all-defense guy. Like, he's supposed to be a guy that doesn't allow – he's supposed to be a guy that takes somebody that averages 28, 29, and they get 22, and inefficient 22 that night. The nights they're playing us, they're going above and beyond. Like, yeah, they kill everybody. Well, they're killing our supposed first-team all-defense guy. I mean, they're taking him to the woodshed. Go look at it. We're talking about 40s and 50s, and I mean, over and over and over again. I mean, he's supposed to be a guy that every night, hey, who's your best guy? Who's your scorer? Anybody that ain't a center, 1 to 4, who's your guy? I mean, there's no fear. He's getting killed night in and night out. And if you can't, if you were allowing the other team to rest their best player a lot of cases on defense because they're not guarding you,
you don't have to. Yeah,
you gotta give us something on the other side. And you can't give me nothing on the other side. I mean, if these guys are going to get 40 a night, then what are we doing? Like, then what? I mean,
at least get the guy in foul trouble or something. Yeah.
Then you can't play. And I know a lot of people like Herb. I thought he did some good stuff last year. I feel like he's taking a step backwards this year. I really do. I mean, he just hadn't played well for me.
I think that's fair to say about a number of guys. I think, man, probably the only guy you can say like clearly non-debatable has taken a major step forward this season would have to be Najee. We haven't seen much of Kyra so far this season. When you look at a guy like Garrett, who to his credit, gave you some valuable minutes last game when he came in. Look at a guy like DG, even Billy tonight gave you some valuable minutes early on. Is it a case of just that roster does not having enough contributors, self-creators, guys? So you don't have a lot of top defenders on this team. So you would hope that these guys would at least be able to like be a neutral by being efficient and effective offensively. At this point, do you think if you're targeting guys via trade, you just say to hell with the defense, like go all offense and lean into your strengths, Chris?
Oh, well, yeah, because I mean, even you look in this game in Minnesota, even for a lower tier guy like a Jalen Noel, they had somebody on the floor at every juncture of the game that could go out there and create positive looks. Maybe if they didn't fall, right? We know what D'Lo can do in some stretches. Ant Edwards, Kyle Anderson from some stretches, and we watched McDaniels create a couple shots for himself throughout the game. And that's the thing. It doesn't always have to be a star or an above average role player. Sometimes it's just about having an individual, even if they're at the end of your bench, that can go out and create their own. I think right now,
George Yang for the 76ers, like this a guy like
because they ran into spots to where they just couldn't create offense. And in some stretches, Jose can, but you can't count on that consistently depending on the matchup or the night, because he's still figuring out who he is. Do I want to drive and create contact, or do I want to get three happy? Najee was working himself back, but even with that, you need more. You need more creators. You need more flexibility offensively, especially when you're with 27 points per game sitting on the bench in a jogging suit right now. That's just the reality. Devontae Graham can't be the one coming in off the bench, and if you're not going to post feed your centers, the other guys that may be able in some stretches to create for themselves. I've seen Billy Hernangomez do it, and we know Jonas can do it. Then it has to come from someone in the backcourt, because it can't always be CJ. It's not going to be B.I. on his first game back to go along with Najee and company. I think in a perfect world, you need another big man option and another creator. But if I had to pick one off like immediately, it would be a creator, a playmaker, just someone who's able to create their own and create for others without having a table set up for them.
Right. Yeah, Chris, I'm totally agree with you. And it's crazy because that's a 180, I think, from where I was, call it a month and a half ago. I didn't think we needed maybe 2 months ago. I didn't think we needed another player like that. Now I'm couldn't agree with you more that this team needs another legitimate offensive player at the guard position. I mean, it can't just be a sequence of CJ McCollum ISOs or high ball screens and like, hey, go get a bucket all the time. Or same thing with Brandon. I mean, I spent a little time today, and I mean, looking at guys that might be available, teams that are clearly already taking a step, toward the offseason, and looking at teams like Charlotte and guys like Terry Rozier. And, I think they're probably not going to move off PJ Washington at this point, just with the whole Miles Bridges saga. But those two guys are names that you've heard as could be available that I think, fit sort of that versatile big-ish man and a guard that can do a little creating for himself and for others. But I totally agree. It gets hard to watch. We've had a couple of these last few games, especially. It seems like, with the injuries and guys just coming back, we've run some lineups out there that are like,
where's the offense coming from?
How are we going to even get a look? Like, what are we even going to do to get a look?
Yeah,
I think that's when some of these turnovers start stacking up. Yeah.
Let me. We had a couple messages from our sponsors. I want to go to a commercial first from Burris Law. You guys be sure to support them because they support us. Great company. Check it out.
This podcast is sponsored by the Birdsall Law Firm, the official injury lawyers of Boot Crew Media. Birdsall Law Firm is a family practice that has been a staple in the greater New Orleans area since 1963. Specializing in automobile accidents and slip and falls for the past 60 years, you can trust the Birdsall Law Firm to handle your claim professionally while treating you like family in the process. The Birdsall Law Firm is located at 918 Poydras Street near the Superdome. Give them a call today at 504-523-5413 or message them on Instagram if you or someone you know has been involved in an accident. Be sure to mention Boot Crew Media sent you to get your free consultation today. Once again, you can reach them at 504-523-5413.
After a game like tonight, you find yourself a little depressed. When you're depressed, you eat. You want to go drown your sorrows. So if you're out tomorrow, you're on foot. You're just thinking about, I can't believe the Pels did it to me again. Why don't you stop here at Company Burger, have yourself a delicious, juicy hamburger.
Company Burger is the official burger of Pro Pels Talk and Boot Crew Media. Located at 4600 Ferret Street, Company Burger has been locally owned and operated for 11 years. Grind the meat, bake the buns, make the mayo, get the homemade tots. Company Burger uses Creekstone Farms prime beef to create the best burger in the city with milkshakes to go and a full bar. Company Burger is open every day besides Tuesday from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Can't make it out? No worries, we have you covered. You can order online right now at thecompanyburger.com or check them out on the Toast or Uber Eats app. Company Burger, the official burger of Boot Crew Media.
I'm passing to my guy Chris with a message from DraftKings.
Yo, man. As we know, the conference championship games, championship Sunday is right around the corner. You got 4 NFL teams, 2 conference championship games, and only a few more shots to win big on the playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Counting down to Super Bowl 57, new customers can bet just $5. Happy birthday, 5. $200 in free bets instantly. If you're not a new customer, you can feel the conference championship thrills with stepped-up same-game parlays. Take a shot at even bigger NFL payouts and boost your winnings with each leg up to 100%. Personally, I'm looking at this San Francisco-Philly game. I'm taking the under, I'm taking the running backs. I just think it's going to be a low-scoring defensive game. That's where I'm at. So, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code BOOT. You see it right there in the bottom right-hand corner. New customers can bet just $5 on the conference championship game and get $200 in free bet instantly. Only a DraftKings Sportsbook with code BOOT. Gambling problem, or if someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. Get them bets in, y'all.
Yo, appreciate
Chaz.
that, Chris. Yes, sir.
I was just going to take a shot at kind of they're trying to look. We were talking about taking unders and stuff, and I'm sitting here trying to think when we're going to stop the bleeding. We've lost 6 straight, and the next shot we got is against the Wizards. The Wizards are now healthy and have won 4 straight. That's not the Wizards. That is not the Wizards we played 2-3 weeks ago and beat the dog out of. And then you're at Milwaukee, you're at Denver, you're at Dallas before you come back home for a little homestand with the Lakers, Kings, Hawks. Like, when in here does the bleeding stop?
I had the Wizards game penciled as our only win. I had that just because I think we just match up against the Wizards well. I think Crispus is still out. I anticipate he's going to be out.
Yep.
You never know with Bradley Beal. I just think that's a game we really match up against, that team well. And also, I would hope that Brandon kind of finds his rhythm by next game again. Really rough first outing for him, as to be expected. So he played Kyle Kuzma. If he can't get right to play Kyle Kuzma, then it just ain't gonna happen. So
and look, if you remember, Ross and Chaz, that's another JV centric type of matchup. They
absolutely,
and this was the last game they played. Washington was with Porzingis, right? It was without BI, and the game plan was thrown directly through BI. I'm sorry, through Jonas. I don't know if Daniel Gafford is back yet, but even if
he's back. He's back.
even with Daniel Gafford,
Yeah, he couldn't do nothing either.
Yeah, they don't have a matchup, I think, for Jonas. It gives him an opportunity to get some things going. You get 2 days off, you know what I'm saying? Get an opportunity, hopefully, to get some guys some added rest and get some of that extra rust off. Get a victory there because you got to get your mind right because the next night you go into Milwaukee on a back-to-back, and then you got to play Denver again that following Tuesday, man. And you're going to need to do that because then it's Dallas and Lakers and the Kings after that. It doesn't get any easier.
I have a final question for you guys, right? Final question. Do the Pelicans make a trade this week? Is it this week going into the weekend? Or do you think they can – some would say even if you make a trade, you're punting those games anyway, right? Because you got to get guys, kind of, ingratiated and, and figure out the offense. But, hey, I would say if you're going to lose anyway, at least lose for a cause. At least lose because you're trying to figure out how to incorporate a new guy into the offense. Do you guys think the Pelicans make a move this week? Well, hell, it's already Wednesday. Do you think they make a move by this weekend?
I don't think they do. I really am a little pessimistic about what we're going to do, and I'll say this: I don't think we're going to be the first movers. I think a shoe will drop before we make a move. I mean, look, from what we've heard, they're engaged, keeping an eye on what's going on. I don't know. I'm not. I don't see us making some like massive deal. That's just my opinion.
How about you, Chris?
I think Griff will end up making a move. I don't necessarily think it will be this week. I think he has a lot of real estate locked into the fact that some excuses are there. Welcoming back Brandon and company, tired legs, so on and so forth. But I will say this: if this, which is now, was it a 7-game losing streak or was it 6?
I think it's 5.
I think tonight was 6.
Yeah. If it's 6, and I think this team gets back. If they lose their next 4 in a row, they get close, or even when Brandon starts looking back to his injury self, and you're still losing games and principles that even dating back, if you can't look close or build momentum back to close to the team that made the playoffs last year, if you're not even looking close to that and keeping some of these games competitive, then I think he'll make a move. I don't think it'll be this week. But yeah, man, I mean, you can't, there's no, at some point you got to step in and stop the bleeding. And if this team continues to lose and Zion isn't, you're not, an update on his injury won't happen for another, week and a half.
At least, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's no help in sight, and the schedule's only getting tougher. The bleeding continues. You got to step in and think and make a move. I don't think it'll be at the end of this week, but if it continues, I think by the beginning of February, you might see something happen.
Okay, you heard it here first, guys. So lock in, maybe it's going to get interesting. So I'm Chad Chaz. That's Ross. That's Chris Connor. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. The Pelicans fall 102 to 111. Keep your prayers up, guys. We're out.